just cuss. We ain't with this, don't play. Oh, Trump, take your mug shot today. Trump, jailbound Trump. They should nail you for every lie you told. He's guilty, but has white privilege, so we know Trump is going back to Mar-a-Lago.
This is a real way to help out the Maui fires. Come here. My friends and I have been working on the back end for a push to support Maui families affected by the fires in a way that's verified by people on the island through a locally trusted organization. Aina Momona is a locally trusted nonprofit run by Native Hawaiians. They're collecting and distributing donations to verified Maui families impacted by the fires. Corporate interests already started trying to grab the family's land, and a hurricane passing the south could send more winds to the island as early as this Sunday. We made a toolkit you can use with info and footage to make videos about this. If we all make a video and just a few skyrocket, we can help these families counter both threats at once and legitimately increase the odds of healthy long-term recovery. It takes 5 seconds to donate and a minute to read the toolkit. You know what to do.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. Thank you for joining me here for Conversations with Taz for Think About It Thursdays, and the day that we all have been waiting for. And when I tell you this came in right at the wire, But yes, take it in. Take it in. Hold on. Take it fully. He mad. He big mad. They took this holding this mugshot to the wire. Now we're going to break down everything that occurred yesterday with all the surrenders and briefings and the briefings from today and all of that good stuff. Stop, puppers. But hold on. You're fine. We do have one important case we do need to get to first, so I'll see you in 2 and 2.
This is Sybil Garbo. She is 72 years old and she has been a nurse for over 40 years, and she's going to prison for 6 months. So she was recently convicted of assault, felony assault, and the judge in Minnesota last month sentenced her to 6 months. Sybil says that back in 2021, she was working in a mental health facility. She had a can of disinfectant that she was using to spray the desk and wipe down the desk, and it was an aerosolized can. Another nurse, a white nurse by the name of Devlin Stitt, came in and claimed that she thought Sybil was spraying her with the disinfectant. Devlin then shoved Sybil in the chest. Sybil tried to pick up the phone to call for help. Devlin grabbed the phone, hit Sybil with the phone. For those keeping track, that's now 2 against Sybil. At which point, Sybil then used the can of disinfectant and hit Devlin with it and ran off. And she said she was afraid and that it was self-defense. She ultimately ended up telling coworkers to call for help because there was a laceration to the other nurse's head for her to get medical attention. And then later that day, Sybil ended up turning herself into the police. She said that she was very much aware that this was a black nurse that injured a white nurse, even though it was, provoked, obviously, and self-defense. And she was in fear. And eventually it went to a jury trial. And Sybil says there was an all-white jury, not a single black member on the jury. and she has now been convicted of a felony and is going to a minimum security prison for 6 months. And then will have 5 years of probation. She has to repay over $51,000 in restitution. She lost her job, of course, and she can no longer hold a Minnesota nursing license with the felony. And I just feel like this case is being swept under the rug, and it's not being talked about enough. She's never been in trouble her whole life. She's been a nurse over 40 years. And you're going to tell me now at 72, suddenly she's dangerous? Really?
And there's layers to this because one, why is she still having to work at 72 years old? But also, this is what we mean when we say the weaponization of white woman tears. And this woman, the victim, claims that she walked in and saw a woman spraying down materials and was instantly, oh, she's spraying it at me. The instant victimization, the instant, I'm having a bad day. I need to get physical. I'm going to get physical with you. You're just going to have to take it. Utterly disgusting. Now let's get into it. Yep, we got a ton of notes to go through. So let's get caught up on everything Fulton County and everything else. Actually, let's start with some information coming out of the Department of Justice. The Oath Keepers militia, most notably one of their leaders, Stuart Rhodes, you'll remember him, he's the one with the eye patch, had a Secret Service liaison. Now, that part is normal, but they usually give groups the rules for protesting, etc. Here's where it gets hinky. The Secret Service did not see a concern for law enforcement officers or government officials regarding the Oath Keepers showing up on January 6th. They were treated as if they were on the side of law enforcement officers. And if you recall, the Secret Service deleted all text and emails regarding their interactions/communications with the Oath Keepers and everything surrounding January 6th. Now, we do have an update on Prigozhin and Russia. Regarding the Wagner leader, the plane was shot down. That still hasn't been confirmed. 2 months to the day of the aborted mutiny. And some people are saying it's a possible move for Putin to reassert power as a leader. There were 10 people that were killed, including Prigozhin, and Prigozhin's top lieutenant was also said to be on board. Russia is mourning Prigozhin. Today, it was officially ruled the cause of the plane crashing as sabotage. And Putin did give a statement basically saying he was sending his condolences and that Prigozhin delivered great results, but just made some grave mistakes. And I'm not saying have a bleeding heart for Prigozhin, because keep in mind, this is the type of person that would film tortures and executions. Utterly ruthless. And there are those that are saying that Prigozhin's death sentence was signed when Putin took to Russian TV and called him a traitor shortly after the attempted mutiny. Now, last night, the GOP debate, when DeSantis did speak, he surely had a lot to say. But there was an incredible breakdown on him today, so let's get into it. We all are familiar with DeSantis's war on woke and his war on intellect and elitism. But let's dig into his past, given that he doesn't just like to revision history that he wants kids to learn in Florida. He revisions his own history. DeSantis is an Ivy League grad 2 times over, Undergrad, he went to Yale, where he was the baseball team captain. He was very popular on campus. I know that he likes to pretend that he didn't fit in and he wasn't accepted by the woke culture of Yale. Complete fabrication. He also joined a secret society while he was there. Very hoity-toity. As he attended Harvard Law School, which he was very desperate to get into, according to reports, upon graduation, with a group of friends of his, he created a tutoring company to help other elites enter the Ivy League. Now, this leads into the group of Ivy Leaguers within the GOP that try to act as if they're against elitism, that they don't like to hobnob with these people. The Ivy Leaguers of the GOP are at war with woke education and intellect. This is due to their current voter base being predominantly not college graduates. And these people generally hate the elites, but love the good old boys. So they're trying to pretend like they had that good old boy upbringing, as if these things are not verifiable. And there's a duality, because a lot of these GOP Ivy Leaguers also are upset with a lot of colleges and universities because they're no longer just catering to rich elitist white men. They're into diversity, inclusion, critical, independent thought. But this gives you a great idea why they keep lying and pretending like, certain things aren't this, and giving that good old boy mentality. And you'll have a better understanding of why the GOP debate yesterday went off the rails. According to a poll, 69% of the GOP voter base prefers to take advice from ordinary people. Not professionals, not doctors, not scientists, ordinary people. And real quick, back to DeSantis. When he decided to take the anti-vaxxer stance, keep in mind that he ensured vaccines for the wealthy elite and certain members of the elderly population in Florida. And as much as he tries to act like, he's so against elitism, he never flies commercial. He has sponsors that ensure that he can take private flights. And also last night, DeSantis brought up a story about a woman named Penny who was the product of she survived a failed abortion as the fetus and grew up. Here's the skinny on that. Back in 2 and 2.
There was one moment of the debate last night that should genuinely terrify us all. Roll the clip.
You believe in human behavior is causing climate change? Raise your hand if you do.
Look, we're not school children. Let's have the debate. I mean, I'm happy to take it to start. Alexander, so do you want to raise your hand? I don't think that's the way to do. So let me just say to Alexander this. First of all,
one person, Asa Hutchinson, raised their hand. And yes, Ron DeSantis blurted out, but that should have been an immediate raise your hand. The fact that they all hesitated is deeply disturbing. And of course, it's emblematic of the Republican Party's position towards climate change. If you cannot stand there on a debate stage and confidently say, yes, man-made activities are causing climate change, you shouldn't be on that stage, you shouldn't be a politician, and for any young person who's thinking about who to vote for, just consider the fact that one party believes in climate change, the other does not. One party nominated a guy, and will probably nominate him again, that said climate change is a hoax invented by China. Another party nominated a president who has invested.
Penny in the pan has been located. Penny, the discarded fetus that Governor Ron DeSantis claims was aborted multiple times, has a story. Let me tell you that story. This is Miriam Penny Hopper. She is an anti-abortion activist and claims that she survived an abortion attempt at 23 weeks. Last night at the GOP debate, Ron DeSantis insisted that he knew a woman from Florida who had survived multiple abortion attempts and that they had left her in a pan to die and her grandmother went to save her, suggesting that Democrats were the extremists that allowed late-term abortions. Y'all, when I tell you this story, you think you're crawling the walls now with this, and you just wait. First of all, this story, because we're hearing it from Penny Hopper herself, this story happened in 1950. 1955. That's before Ron DeSantis was born. That's also before Roe v. Wade. So put that in the back of your bonnet for a minute. This woman claims that her mother showed up at a hospital having complications. She was like spotting and there was like definitely trouble with the pregnancy. So the doctor looks for a heartbeat, can't find any, and says, we're going to have to induce this baby because, you know, you could die. At 23 weeks pregnant, this woman was 23 weeks pregnant. The doctor says there's no viability here because it's way too early and says that there's nothing we can do for this baby. And so she claims she is put out on the back porch. She weighs like 1 pound, 10 ounces. This woman claims a whole ass day later, a full 24 hours later, her grandmother shows up on that back porch to save her because she found out that she was still alive. We're supposed to believe that her mother was induced, gave birth. The baby was still so alive that it survived a full day on a back porch in Florida, covered up in blankets with absolutely no medical care whatsoever. Are they serious? But here's the thing, it was 1955. Abortions were not accessible or legal for most people. That's the whole point of Roe v. Wade. That's why we've been screaming so loudly. This woman's pitching a story because she doesn't believe in abortion. She's not selling her story because it's true or it's accurate or any of those things. It's not a late stage abortion. She's calling it an induction abortion. Ma'am, that's just an induction and you had a shitty doctor, okay? Goodbye. Republicans are out there acting like people are giving birth to 40-week babies and having them executed on the operating table. The madness.
On top of that, let's think about this. So, there are no abortion clinics at this time during this Penny story. This child attempted to be aborted several times, was finally aborted. Didn't dispose of it, just put it in a pan and set it on the back porch. With what, other fetuses? And how did the grandmother know that the child was still alive on the back porch? The wild and crazy stories that they make up, and the fact that there are fully grown, functional adults with children of their own, with siblings, with parents, with grandparents that believe it and regurgitate it. They enjoy lies. They enjoy lies and they enjoy believing that they're getting something over on the rest of us. Now on to Fulton County updates. So let's backtrack to yesterday. There was a lot that was going on. At 2:50 a.m., David Schaefer and Kathy Latham surrendered themselves. At 9:15 a.m., Kenneth Cheeseborough and Ray Smith surrendered. At 1:45 p.m., Cheeseborough filed for a speedy trial. And per Georgia, it had to start at least by November 3rd. Now, immediately, Trump's attorneys filed to sever their case from Cheeseborough because with one, they got to do them all together. Now, as of today, Fonnie Willis asked for a start date of October 23rd. Later on today, the judge granted for the Cheeseborough case only. So he essentially severed him from the rest of the co-defendants to begin on October 23rd. Now, yesterday at 2 p.m., Rudy Giuliani reached a bond agreement with the district attorney. At 2:30 p.m., Fonnie Willis filed a brief in response to Jeffrey Clark's emergency motion to the federal judge, Steve Jones, asking for his arrest to be blocked. At 2:45 p.m., Fonnie Willis filed a brief in response to Mark Meadows' emergency motion to the federal judge, Steve Jones, requesting that his arrest also be blocked. At 2:50 p.m., Sidney Powell surrendered. At 3:06 p.m., Rudy Giuliani surrendered. At 4:38 p.m., Jenna Ellis surrendered. At 5 p.m. yesterday, Judge Jones denied Clark's motion. At 5:40 p.m., Judge Jones denied Meadows' motion. At 7:15 p.m., Fonnie Willis filed a brief in response to Meadows' request to move the case to federal court. This was a 20-page brief, and it raises the question of the Hatch Act And Fonnie Willis did note that Meadows did not reference the Hatch Act in his motion, which would have been proper for him to do. And according to the brief, the Hatch Act would have prohibited Meadows' actions regarding election fraud. And hold on, let me go to the proper page of notes. So the Hatch Act is a federal law passed in 1939 that limits certain political activities of federal employees. And let's read the actual act. Hold on. Okay. The Hatch Act, a federal law passed in 1939, limits certain political activities of federal employees as well as some state, DC, and local government employees who work in connection with federally funded programs. The law's purposes are to ensure the federal programs are administered in a nonpartisan fashion to protect federal employees from political coercion in the workplace and to ensure that federal employees are advanced based on merit and not based on political affiliation. Now, we know for a doggone fact, everything that they were doing regarding this election fraud was definitely partisan and far from nonpartisan. Now, we got to talk about Rudy Giuliani here for a minute. It is believed to be that Rudy Giuliani is the first U.S. attorney from the Southern District of New York to be arrested. His bond agreement means that he cannot engage in intimidation, obstruction, or case communication with co-defendants. Now, this gets a little tricky because yesterday, right after Rudy's surrender, Trump announced that he would be hosting a fundraising dinner for Rudy. Because remember, he had promised to pay Rudy's legal bills, but he backed out of that. Now, on Monday, there are two important things coming up. Meadows has his evidentiary hearing, and he most likely will have to take the stand because his attorneys cannot make the argument for him because, like I said, the Hatch Act is in play here. And because Meadows is arguing that this should be moved to federal court or he should not be prosecuted at all because he was fulfilling his duties, he would have to say what those duties are that he was performing and how that was a part of his regularly scheduled duties for then President Trump. Also on Monday, Judge Chutkan is to set the trial start date. Remember, the defense, Trump's team, wants the trial to start April 20th, 2026. Ain't nobody going for that. And the Department of Justice wants the trial to begin as early as January. Some legal pundits are stating that a good trial start date would be somewhere in June of next year. Big question is, will anyone flip regarding the Fulton County case? For some people, it's looking like Jenna Ellis may be one to flip due to the non-payment of her legal fees, that David Schaefer may flip because he does blame Trump for everything that happened. And it appears that Schaefer was trusting that he was receiving valid legal advice and that valid legal advice was being adhered to during this whole election fraud thing. And let's not forget Cheeseborough, who came up with the idea for everything because he misinterpreted his former law professor's paper. But given that he wanted to be severed and wanted this trial, he wants a speedy. He might come back and give up some evidence. Dude, would you stop? Now, let's see. Because Trump has one heck of a schedule coming up when it comes to trials. Let's get his calendar up here. Let me, whoopsie. Okay, let's move that so you all can see it. Quick reminder. In Fulton County, Georgia, Trump is being charged with 13 counts. Violation of the Georgia RICO Act, solicitation of violation of oath by public officer, 3 counts, conspiracy to commit false statements in writings, 2 counts, conspiracy to commit forgery in the first degree, 2 counts, false statements in writings, 2 counts, conspiracy to commit impersonating a public officer. And let's just take a trip down memory lane so you can understand everything that's going on this calendar. Trump's legal count thus far. And keep in mind, from what Trump said in his 46-minute interview with Tucker Carlson last night, he has a pretty good grasp at all of his legal perils. All of his legal perils. Would you stop? So, he has 2 impeachments. His business was found guilty of criminal tax evasion and fraud. He paid $25 million to settle a fraud suit regarding Trump University. He was fined $2 million and forced to shut down a fake charity. He was ordered to pay $5 million by a jury for sexual abuse. He is facing a $250 million lawsuit regarding additional business fraud and is facing 91 criminal charges in 4 jurisdictions. In Georgia, 13, Florida, 40, New York, 34, DC, 4. Also keep in mind that in Georgia, no federal or state pardons can save him from this. Woo! All right. So there was a last-minute attorney swap earlier this morning. His original attorney was fired. We don't know why, but his name was Drew Findling. Drew Findling was just in Fulton County on Monday negotiating on Trump's behalf regarding his bond agreement and all those terms and how he and when he would turn himself in. Findling called himself hashtag the $1 billion lawyer, and his previous clients, y'all ain't gonna believe this, Waka Flocka Flame and Gucci Mane, rappers. His replacement attorney, Steve Sadow, I'm guessing, would you behave? Has previous clients of Usher, Rick Ross, Ray Lewis, and T.I. So, 77-year-old Donald John Trump surrendered today. He did use a bail bondsman. He paid between 10 to 15% to the bail bondsman. At 7:34 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, he arrived at the Rice Street Jail at the rear entrance. Dude, would you find something to do? Around 7:46, he was released. It was a well-orchestrated and virtually seamless encounter. This was a negotiated time because he wanted prime time and he wanted it within 24 hours of the debate. There was no view of him entering or exiting. Trump had earlier in the day retruthed the address for the jail and his presumed arrival schedule in hopes that people would protest. There were less than 5 protesters that showed up and they were virtually silent. At 8:15 p.m., he gave remarks on the tarmac before boarding the plane back to New Jersey. He is still, and while in those remarks, he was still claiming that it was election interference and that he has the right to question an election. So as you can see, he is very, 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 very jam-packed. And we all keep forgetting about Letitia James up in New York. But starting October 2nd, that's this one right here, that trial begins. So, but he gave us this. Yes, the official mugshot. Don't he look grand? We've been waiting on this one. Now, before we get into anything else heavy, we have another Arthur Night update. Our favorite telenovela. Because why? Every aspect of this story gets crazier than a Trump tale. So take a look at this, and I'll see you on the other side.
Nicholas Rossi update! And this time, it's about his wife, Miranda. Oh, we haven't talked much about Miranda before, have we? She is definitely worth her own video series, and suffice to say, she and Arthur are peas in a pod, and she is just as big a con man as her husband is. And Miranda just made the news because her PR firm is about to get dissolved by the UK government, because just like everything else about the couple, this thing was a scam too. So back in 2022, just as it was getting out that this eccentric dude in Scotland with the fake British accent called Arthur Knight was actually the fugitive conman rapist from America, Nicholas Rossi, his wife Miranda set up the PR company Knight Corp Limited in order to capitalize on the brewing media circus and try to make some money on the thing. And honestly, his heinous crimes aside, it was a pretty good idea. This guy is must-see TV. I'm definitely fascinated. But you see, Knight Corp Limited, they never filed the right paperwork, and the government was like, hey, we need some confirmation that this is all on the up and up and everyone is who they say they are and not like some scammy con artist. And you would think that if the business was on the up and up, it would be pretty easy to rectify. You know, just send in the right paperwork, right? Except she does this all the time. Veritas Cube Limited, a PR firm dissolved for the exact same reasons back in 2021. She actually opened this one with her brother, Kevin Knight. He was the CEO. She was technically underneath him as an employee. Except when Kevin was interviewed about it, he said that he had never heard of the company before and certainly wasn't the CEO of it. Yeah, it seems his sister had opened a company and put it in his name, all without his knowledge. And when Kevin found out about it in 2020, he told the government, get me the hell off this thing, which left Miranda the only remaining member of the company. And when the government came asking that business for some details to prove that everything was on the up and up and not some sort of shady kind of operation, she didn't. And so the government shut it down and dissolved that business. You starting to see a pattern here? Let's give you one more. Nafsika Global Holdings Limited. This business actually was halfway on the level. And the reason for that is because the person that Miranda and Arthur were scamming was listed as a company officer. Nafsika Antipas is a Canadian TV show host and vegan lifestyle advocate. And when Nafsika was looking to expand her business into Europe, she hired a freelance PR manager who could set it all up for her. Someone with a PhD from Harvard, in fact. Dr. Nicholas Arthur Timothy Knight Brown. Yeah. And in February of 2020, 3 days before he would fake his own death, with Miranda's help, Arthur and Miranda pressured Nafsika into setting up a company in the UK in her name with Arthur and Miranda listed as company officers. They then proceeded to scam her out of 30,000 American dollars, and when Nafsika asked for updates on the work that they were doing for her, they kept stalling her, and even sent her a fake photo of Miranda in a hospital bed as a reason as to why they were behind schedule. And when Nafsika got fed up with being scammed, she stopped paying, at which point Arthur tried to extort another 75 grand out of her. Arthur went on a tear creating fake websites accusing Nafsika of being a fraud and a thief unless she paid up. It actually wound up costing her about $250,000 to try to repair the PR damage that was done by him. There's a lot more to that story, and I'll cover it in a separate video, but suffice to say, that little scam LLC went bye-bye too. Man, this Arthur Knight story just keeps getting weirder and weirder. These two have an honest-to-God Joker and Harley Quinn dynamic. And the thing about people like this, the more desperate and backed into a corner they get, the crazier things are about to become. Stay tuned.
Now, the beginning of this journey, I said I didn't know if the wife was in on it or if she was holding back and being quiet so she could write a book about it later. I did not see this level of devious coming. I should have. I should have. Okay? I should have given this case from the barristers, aka the attorneys, to Arthur, to a cellmate buddy, to the I should have seen it. I should have seen it. I just did not. I did not predict this level of crazy. Oh no. I knew from the jump they didn't believe that he won the election. The way they were going about it and the way they were so careful with thought that they were careful with their wording, and they weren't upset with all the court cases they were losing because they were using their voter bases funds to pay for it. I knew that they didn't believe nothing that was coming out of their face. Now we got a quick clip regarding Moms for Liberty at their conference. Like I said, it's a quick clip, but pay close attention.
I don't know what to say. There is always a bridge. There's always a reason. There's always a reason why something
Wait
happens.
for it.
Right? Yes. One of our moms in a newsletter posted it like, woo! I stand with that mom.
Yeah, remember when they recanted and said that they were sorry about that Hitler quote being included? They weren't. Real quick, back to the comments. Here's the thing. The regular people, some of them are lying to the rest of us. Some of them really truly believe that he won the election. But they've had decades of being indoctrinated into believing that that dream job that they're no way qualified for was stolen by a Black and brown person or a woman or an immigrant. So to have somebody else to blame for a white man not getting their way, they're going to ride the coattails of it. Now, there's others that you can tell that they know that it's a lie, but they want to hold true to it. Because once again, any opportunity to blame a white person not getting their way, they're going to take it. They like that kind of stuff. They like it a lot. Now, here recently, there's been a lot more talk about PragerU because Florida is using propaganda from PragerU, which is not a real university. They just call themselves PragerU. Anybody who's been on social media since the mid-length of Facebook has been very familiar with PragerU and the content creators and influencers that they utilize to go out and perpetuate, especially anti-Blackness and their pro-tyrannical Christian propaganda. Take a look at the founder so you get a better idea of that mindset and what his motivations and goals are, not just with the creation of PragerU, but now being head over heels that he doesn't have to just rely on homeschoolers. He can get public schoolers and private schoolers in an entire state.
The left has made it impossible to say the N-word any longer. That's disgusting. It's a farce. It's the only word that you can't say in the English language.
I don't know what to do when I hear my friends using this word in a song. I don't know what to do when it's all the time.
Words don't have meaning without context, okay? My wife refers to me as honey. That's accepted and okay between us. If we were walking down the street together and a strange woman referred to me as honey, that wouldn't be acceptable. The understanding is I have some sort of relationship with my wife. Hopefully I have no relationship with this strange woman. When I was young and I used to go see my family in Philadelphia where my dad was from, they will all call him Billy. His name is William Paul Coates. No one in Baltimore called him Billy, and had I referred to my father as Billy, that probably would have been a problem. That's because the relationship between myself and my dad is not the same as the relationship between my dad and his mother and his sisters who he grew up with, right? We understand that. It's the same thing with words within the African-American community or within any community. My wife, with her girlfriend, will use the word bitch. I do not join in. And perhaps more importantly, I don't have a desire to do it. You understand? You know, a while ago, Dan Savage was going to have this show that he was going to call Hey Faggot. I'm not going to yell faggot at Dan Savage. I'm just not, that's not my relationship with the LGBT community. And I understand that, and I'm okay with that. I don't have a desire to, yell out the word, faggot. I just don't have that. The question one must ask, if that's accepted and normal for groups of people, we understand that, it's normal, actually, for groups to use words that are derogatory in an ironic fashion why is there so much hand-wringing when black people do it? The question one must ask is why so many white people have difficulty extending things that are basic laws, of how human beings interact to black people. And I think I know why.
I'm going to be your part two. Here's the thing. The N-word is not the only slur that is out there. Not by far. Not by far. But it is the one that's always brought up in conversation. All these other slurs outside of racist circles, and I'm even learning that a lot of racists don't even know all of the slurs. It's not used. It's not generally a part of anybody's vocabulary. It is not the only word that is taboo that you shouldn't say. There are other derogatory terms that over the years you just don't hear people say. It's no longer a part of the vernacular. People have removed it from their verbiage. But for you know what reason, the N-word is always the topic of conversation. There's always someone fighting for their life to be able to say it. There's always someone trying to find a cutesy pitch hitting term that still starts with an N to stick it in there, whether it's the new thing noodle or ninja or anything else that they try to stick in to still say it because they know the venom that is behind it when a non-black person says it, and they still want to be able to spew that venom. They still want to have that domination because they claim to be superior, but spend the vast majority of their time not only showing that they are inferior, but trying to prove to the rest of us their superiority. You ever notice that Bentley does not have commercials? Want to know why Bentley doesn't have commercials? Bentley doesn't have to prove to y'all that it's a luxury car. You know it's a luxury car. Why would Bentley be out here talking shit about Ford, Toyota, Hyundai, and Honda? You don't hear Hermes out here shitting on Michael Kors or any of the bags at Walmart, Target, Kohl's, any place. For what? The number one rule in business is you don't talk about another person's product, because the moment you talk about the other product, that's where people's mindset focuses. So if you're going to be racist, be a better racist. Every time you bring us up, people are focused on us. People are going to be Googling about us. Every time you say we haven't accomplished anything in order to try to prove you wrong, guess what people are going to do? Look to see what we've accomplished. And what will they find out? What we've accomplished. You're fighting for your life to say a word that you invented. But if somebody says cracker, a word that white people also invented, that they were proud of because it was a position on the plantation that came with higher pay and higher respect for the non-plantation, non-slave owning folks, that made them feel superior while on the plantation. You call them cracker nowadays, they have a whole damn meltdown over something that has historically had a positive connotation behind it. So they know the hurt that they want to yield when fighting to say the N-word. They know it. They know it full well. When white people learned from the Portuguese regarding chattel slavery, and white people realized with this new terrain, and that the fact that the vast majority of them were not farmers, were not engineers, were not industrialists, when they left their home countries, they really thought in their minds that they could steal black people, build up a country on the backs of black people, and black people would just disappear and no one would ever know the truth, and they could take credit for everything. That is where the deep-rooted and deep-seated hate comes from. And that's why there's a constant campaign of tossing black people into every conversation and trying to equate us to everything negative at all times. And to segue from that, I got a perfect little lesson for you on racism in a way that many people don't even realize they're being racist when they do it.
Thank you so much for letting me know the dates of Sean's upcoming holidays. It just makes it so much easier when I'm doing the rota.
Oh, it's no problem at all. Anyway, have a lovely day and I'll see you later.
See you later.
Yeah.
Oh, who's that? Hello.
Afternoon. I'm DC Ravenscroft. Are you the manager here?
Oh, yes, I am. Can I help you?
We've had a report of somebody behaving suspiciously around the nursery.
Oh, my goodness. Right, well, yeah, come in then. We'll come talk in my office. Right, so what can you tell me about this person so I can be on the lookout?
So, the witness has described him as being a black male in his early 20s, wearing a grey top, black shorts with short cropped hair. Does that ring any bells?
That sounds like Jamie.
You know him?
Look out the window.
Well, he fits the description perfectly. Who is he?
He's our gardener.
Oh, I see. So when the witness saw him stood outside the nursery, they've obviously misunderstood the situation.
Right.
Well, I'm glad we cleared that up. Thank you very much for your time.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. I'll see you out.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Marjorie.
Oh, hello.
I just saw the police were here.
Oh, yes, but don't worry. Everything is absolutely fine. Nobody's hurt, nobody's injured. All the kids are fine. It was just a bit of a misunderstanding, that's all.
A misunderstanding?
Yes, thankfully.
Oh, I see. It's just, I actually called the police this morning to report somebody acting suspiciously outside. Is that what they were responding to?
Yes, they were. Wait, sorry, you called the police?
Yes, I did.
About that gentleman out the window?
Yes, him. I don't understand. Why is he still here?
Because he hasn't clocked off yet. He's still got another hour of his shift left.
Wait, what do you mean?
He's our gardener.
Oh, really?
Oh, don't worry, you weren't to know. Besides the gardening gloves, the shovels, the wheelbarrow and the van that says gardening services on the side, it's a complete mystery as to why he's here.
Oh, do you know, I must admit, when I saw those, I thought they were like some sort of cover as to why he was really here.
I'm a bit curious, so why did you think he was here?
Oh, I just had this wild theory that he was, scouting the place out, looking for weak points, entrances, maybe a child to snatch.
Did you ever assume that about Steve, the janitor, or Mike, our handyman that comes here from time to time?
Oh, no. No, it never occurred to me that they would do that.
But it did occur to you that Jamie might. Why is that?
Well, because he's...
And they're not.
Come on, Marjorie, don't make me say it.
You don't need to. I can hear the racist cogs in your brain turning.
Look, it was just a small misunderstanding, nothing more.
Oh, it's not small. You could have come to me and gone, Marjorie, who is that? And I would have gone, that is our gardener, Jamie, because you are well within your right to know who is working at your child's facility.
Well, that's it, exactly. I'm just a concerned parent looking out for the safety of my child, that's all.
So concerned that you bypassed me and went straight to the police, but not concerned enough to take your child out the nursery? I thought so. Have a lovely day. Oh, and feel free to say hello to Jamie on your way out. He might be able to give you some gardening tips. How to keep that bush in control.
And it's a perfect example that every time they say it's out of concern, it's never about concern. It's never about concern. That's why when you see Karen and Richard videos, they're still aggressive. They're still going towards what they're telling the police is a threat. It's just about removal. And like Arena said in the comments, they don't even want us to move anymore. They just don't want to be around us. It's like they want us all to be in one little spot so that they can come and peek through the window, see what we're doing, get some ideas, but not be around us at any point in time. Because I don't know if you all remember or not, but last year, there was a horrendous trend on TikTok. I think we all have been ordering and receiving packages, especially around the holiday season, to know that during the holiday season, they hire extra help. This extra help generally gets a vest. They don't get a full uniform because they're just there for a short period of time, and they help out the main drivers. If the main drivers get backed up, they call, this person comes up in a car, gets a certain amount of packages, a list, where to take them, bada bing, bada boom. And there were a whole bunch of women that were videoing these people going, this is just suspicious. I don't know about you, but I ain't never seen a thief deliver you your property. Not take it away, deliver it. But isn't it amazing that we all know about porch pirates, but you don't catch anybody posting videos of the porch pirates? You don't catch the nosy neighbor complaining about the porch pirates that you know they watch go up on the porches and take the stuff and run off. Well, as always, thank you for joining me here for Conversations with Taz, specifically for Think About It Thursday. As always, make sure you check out the links in the description of the video. And if you have not heard this week's audio podcast, make sure you check that out. Link is in the bio. And if you have not read this week's blog post, that is linked below with some additional ones. And I'm going to leave you with this final video. Ooh. That'll hopefully get you thinking. And I will definitely see you tomorrow for Freeform Fridays. And like I said, if you have any topics or any videos you want discussed or displayed, make sure you send them to me and I will add them. As always, each one teach one, each one reach one. Till tomorrow.
For over 100 years, this family portrait held a secret, a fourth figure that had been painted out. Now, the Metropolitan Museum of Art has just acquired the painting, one of the few 19th century portraits to realistically portray an enslaved person. Its incredible journey to the Met tells a story about the erasure of Black figures throughout American history.
My ancestors, people of African descent, are a part of this United States, and we've got to be able to see ourselves in a historical context. The paintings that survive are incredibly important because so few remain.
Simeon, an art collector, first stumbled across the painting in an auction record. Then, he found another auction record from a few years prior. But in that image, the enslaved child had been covered up.
The fact that the boy was covered up, it haunted me. I had to find out where he ended up.
After years of searching, Jeremy finally acquired the painting in 2021.
I started talking to Katie Shannon. She has a skill of finding enslaved people.
Census records from the 1830s revealed who was living in the Fry family home. There was only one possible candidate for who the boy could be.
And I said, I found him. His name was Belisaire.
Belisaire was about 15 years old when he was painted in the portrait. It's a picture of domestic tranquility, at odds with the truth.
We know his name, and we know about his journey. I think that's incredible.
In the spring of 2023, a dealer who represented Jeremy called a curator at the Metropolitan Museum of Art to tell her about the painting.
I was completely drawn and taken in by the story.
And so, the museum acquired the painting for its permanent collection.
I can't say how many works there are like the painting of Belle Isère, but I think that everybody should start looking at storage.